What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Sports Outlet Show. My name is Joe Wagner. I'm your host here in Atlanta, Georgia today. Thank you all for coming back for week number 2 of our College Super Series. Today we're going to be talking MAC and Mountain West, Mid-American and Mountain West. Mountain West likes to go full for some reason, but as always, I have 2 of my 3 co-hosts here with me today. We're continuing the sort of not everybody being here stream. It's been a busy summer, but I had Braden and Brent. Boys, how are we doing today? What's going on? Happy Sunday, August 7th.
We're doing real good. It's Sunday. It's a great day. It's a great day.
Braden, you're in a different spot.
I am. Gotta keep it interesting. Gotta switch it up on you. Keep y'all guessing. Yeah.
Still in Stevens City?
Yes, sir. As always.
Dude, why aren't you in like Sacramento?
It could be. You wouldn't know. I could be lying.
I wouldn't know. You're probably right. I wouldn't know. I definitely wouldn't. Brent, you got the Giants hat on. We're not talking NFL today. What are we doing?
Yes, sir. Got this at the Pro Football Hall of Fame last week. It was awesome.
Wow.
First time.
How was that?
It was great. It was better than I expected it to be. Let's put it that way.
Speaking of the Hall of Fame game, I know the Jags-Raiders game just happened. Did you happen to see Trevor Lawrence around town?
I did not. I think they did have like an autograph signing with the Jags because I saw a lot of little kids and they all had the same shirt on. It said Duval. And
awesome.
I think they did have like a little meet and greet thing, but I wasn't able to see any players.
If Braden was there, he'd be running to Dougie P like a little schoolgirl.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So between Brent and I, we've been to both Hall of Fames in the last 2 weeks. It's pretty cool.
You went to College Football Hall of Fame, right?
I did. Chick-fil-A Bowl.
Sick.
It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Highly recommend. We got to get to Canton at some point. Sometime, some way. Anyways, the NFL season is kicked off, boys. A little baby segment here between the Jags Raiders. The Raiders absolutely killed the Jaguars. No surprise there. Nothing's changed, even though the Jaguars had one of the biggest salary cap hits in free agency this season. But extremely excited for the season. Just honestly, I'm pumped. Like, I'm 1 week away from being home and 1 week away from our NFL fantasy draft, baby. It's exciting. I'm excited, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about college football. And today we're talking about 2 more conferences that don't get the amount of love they probably should. If you missed us last week, we talked Independent and we talked CUSA. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out now. But we're going to get rocking and rolling here with conference number 3 in our program. We're talking about the MAC today. No, not Mac Miller, RIP. We're talking about the MAC conference. So I'll go ahead and get us started here, boys, with probably one of the greatest franchises in college football we've ever seen, the Akron Zips. So the Akron Zips, they went 2-10 last season, 1-7 in conference play. It was a pretty poor year, I would say. Last time they won the conference was in 2005 when they beat Northern Illinois 31-30. Joe Moorhead is going into his first season for Akron, so a bit of a new start here for the Zips. He's 52-25 overall in his head coaching career, so those are some W's that are going to need to be coming that way for Akron. Guy at quarterback is going to be DJ Irons. He's a redshirt junior. He was the quarterback last season as well. He went 78-120 with 892 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions for the Zips. Akron had 10 commits this season with 5 3-stars. Their last winning season, guys, was in 2015 and have not made a bowl appearance since 2017. But here is the kicker. They have 3 wins over the last 3 seasons in the MAC.
That's really sad.
That's extremely sad. You want to know what's even more sad about that?
That their mascot is a zip?
Yes. Well, 2 of those 3 wins were against Bowling Green. So we'll get to Bowling Green a little later. One of their QBs, Zach Gibson, did transfer to Georgia Tech this season, and the Zips O-line was the problem, guys. They were sacked 64 times last season, so that's averaging about 4 to 5 a game.
Jeez. Is that like the most in FBS? It's got to be up there.
It was very close. I think it was top 5. I don't think it was the most, but it was really, really close. Here was one more thing the Zips had a problem with. The Zips were second worst in the nation in third down stops. Their opponents had since 2019, their opponents have had a 53% conversion rate on third down. 53%. That is more than half. And just when you thought things could not get worse for the Zips in 2021, the Zips opponents in the red zone on opportunities to score, guys, were 48 and 51.
Holy cow.
94% of the time that a team got inside the 20-yard line, they scored on the Zips, mostly TDs, but 94%. That's absolutely ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Now let's go to a little more positives. My 2 players to watch. Please don't laugh at me for this one. Cam Wiley, the running back sophomore. He's a Minnesota transfer. Last season, he had 6 carries for 4 yards.
Nice.
He's got the speed. He's got the athleticism. He didn't get a lot of carries in Minnesota. That's why he transferred to Akron. That's why he transferred there. But second player to watch is Jezlord Boatang. He's the inside linebacker. He's a junior. He had 72 tackles with 1.5 sacks last season. And this defense is just, obviously, you saw how atrocious they are. They need to continue that. They need to continue to flip that. Excuse me.
What'd you say that name was again? That was sick.
Jezlord Boatang.
Oh dang, that's a killer name.
A pretty cool name.
I might name my son Jezlord.
My most important game for them, it was hard to choose. It was week 5 at Ohio. The game comes after a 3-game beast. So in week 1, I think they play St. Francis. They should win that game. In weeks 2, 3, and 4, they play Michigan State, Tennessee, and Liberty.
Oh, good luck. Jeez.
So there's 3 70-0 losses. Their week 5 game at Ohio is a chance for them to get back on track. My record prediction for the Zips are 3-9 at best. And that was yeah. Let's stop talking about them. Let's add Chris Naylor to the stream.
Holy cow, he's just a little bit late.
What's
Hey,
going on?
Not bad.
college athletics, man. It gets you
College
every time.
athletics. College athletics.
That 7-day work week, man, really kind of comes into handy. Had to escape as quick as I could.
Chris, if I'm not misunderstood, you're coming in at a great time. You get to talk about Ball State.
Oh, I was looking forward to all afternoon thinking about Ball State. The Cardinals, man, they had a semi-decent year. Went 6-6 in the regular season, and then 0-1 obviously in their bowl. They were in, they lost the bowl game 51-20, so didn't really end the season on a positive note per se. I mean, they still kind of averaged 500 and made it into a bowl, so you can't really say much about that. But obviously, the bowl aspect. Their last division championship was in 2020, so they're coming off a fairly good year 2 years ago. They're not the worst team. They've had a little regression over the past year, but not awful. They have a net head coach who is 29-40, so again, that comes into play a little bit. Is their coach the issue that, they're seeing such inconsistency of winning division and then, losing a bowl game by 30 points? A game for me to kind of look at when I was looking at their schedule as a little weird one, it was Kent State. I mean, looking at the record, Kent State is obviously not a great team, but I want to see how they face against a team not so great to see if that passion is still alive for them, or are they going down a horrible slope where we're looking at after this year, the firing of a head coach? Because obviously when your head coach is 29-40, you're not doing too hot per se, and you might want to look at changing that in the next few years. 2 players I kind of found interesting to watch were Carson Steele, the sophomore. He had 890 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns last year, so I'm looking for a great regression of that, especially going to that RB1 rule. And I think in his junior and then therefore senior year will only build better stats, hopefully breaking 1,000 yards rushing. And then another player for me is senior Jashawn Jackson, who had 829 yards and 5 touchdowns this coming year.
Deshaun Jackson?
Sounds like an NFL player.
No, Jason.
I heard
Deshaun
Deshaun.
Jason. It sounds very similar. But he had 829 yards and 5 touchdowns last year. So, I mean, pretty good stats. I hope for him to break 1,000 yards. I mean, obviously coming off a 830-yard season, you should be able to, and going into his last last real season, cleared season before he tries to turn pro, see what he can do, and hopefully he can blow up. And for next year, I predicted going 7-5. I hope they can do better. I mean, obviously winning the 2020, hopefully last year was just a fluke year, and they can win, 7 games, be over 500, obviously make a bowl game. But I really think the division championship is out of the question for them. I mean, there's some phenomenal teams coming out of the MAC right now. Not really the best. I'm not going to call them a powerful G5 team, but you have teams like Central Michigan and Toledo and Ball State that are just kind of there, as your top 3. And obviously they're one of them, but I don't think they can jump 3 places up and, make that championship.
Ball State, ladies and gentlemen.
And a team no one really knows about. No one really you don't hear a lot about them, but I mean, they're there.
So
Ball State.
This next team that Braden's going to talk about, I don't understand how they play on a football field when they're a golf course. So Bowling Green North or Bowling Green South, guys? Which one are we playing? Which one's got the vibes?
South all day long.
South
It's
all day
so
long.
easy. Easiest course out there.
Definitely taking South. Over after when I play golf later this afternoon, that's all I'm going to be thinking about is Bowling Green South. So.
You said you had to work later.
Hey, don't worry about what I'm doing later.
It's a business.
It's a business.
It's a business. Braden, you want to go ahead and talk about the Falcons?
Yeah, we'll talk about the Bowling Green Falcons. Last year, as you can see, they went 4-8, 2-6 in conference play. They obviously did not make a bowl. They last won the MAC East in 2015 versus Northern Illinois. They won the conference against Northern Illinois that year as well. They won 34-14. That was the end of a 3-year battle between Bowling Green and North Illinois. They battled from 23 to 2015, and Bowling Green won the series per se 2-1. Their head coach is Scott Leffler. It's his 4th year, and he's gone 7-22. Obviously, not a great record for him. He hasn't been doing too good in his tenure. They're led by quarterback Matt McDonald. He's a senior. Last year, he threw for 2,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 7 picks on a 60.1% completion percentage. My 2 players to watch are Darren Anders, a linebacker senior. He made first-team All-MAC last year with 124 tackles, 9.5 for loss, 3 sacks, and a pick. And the strength is with this defense, if you could call it a strength at all. So my other player to watch is Carl Brooks. He's a defensive end, and he's a senior. He had 42 tackles last year, 12.5 of them were for loss, and 7.5 sacks. My most important game for them on the schedule is Week 5 versus Akron. It's their first conference opponent, and it's going to be able to show whether or not they can actually do any damage in this conference, and I don't think they can. I have them going 4-8 again.
And Akron's been good against Bowling Green, according to Joe.
Yeah. You watch your back. The Zips are coming for you, baby.
Yeah.
That's the only game that's going to be on our television in Blacksburg. Akron and Bowling Green all day long. Pre-game, during game, post-game, post-game, midnight post-game, highlight reel, all the above. All the above. Brent, you want to talk to me about a Josh Allen-led team?
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills. You can see it on your screen there. 4-8. No, I'm just kidding. The Buffalo Bulls, they went 4-8 last season. The last time Buffalo won their division was 2020, but they unfortunately lost to Ball State in that championship game. The Bulls head coach, Maurice Linguist, is going into his 2nd season with the team and has experience as positional coaches for Big Ten and SEC schools, and also has a recent stint as the Cowboys linebackers coach in 2020. A couple players to watch. We got James Patterson. No, not Jarrett Patterson, the former Buffalo Bull, James Patterson. He's a senior linebacker. He's the best player on the Bulls, and he might be the best defensive player in the entire MAC. He is 6 foot, 230 pounds, and has made 294 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 7 forced fumbles, and 3 interceptions over his 4-year career at Buffalo. And then the second player I have is Damond Williams. He's a 6'3", 283-pound nose tackle, and he had 46 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 10.5 tackles for loss, and 3 broken up passes last year. Their most important game is Week 4 at Eastern Michigan. It's their first conference game against a winnable opponent. And if they get this win, and it sets a good tone for the rest of the season. But overall, I don't think the Bulls have enough talent to make a big impact on this conference, at least for this upcoming season. Their starting quarterback, Matt Myers, has been a backup for the last 3 years, and in his limited action, he was very subpar. There is some hope for the future. They're adding 15 3-star recruits and 11 3-star transfers this offseason. And my analysis is the Buffalo Bulls will be very unlike the Buffalo Bills this season, as I project them going 4-8 for the second straight year.
So you're saying my OC, Shane Montgomery, cannot get it done out there?
No.
I mean, he obviously did a good job with Ben DiNucci.
No.
You're saying he's not going to do good with backup, baby?
Is he a JMU transfer?
Who? Shane Montgomery?
Yeah.
He's their OC.
I don't – who's –
and their quarterback coach.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Man, come on. He did good with Ben DiNucci, Cole Johnson. You know, don't have faith in the quarterback god, man?
I don't.
Oh, jeez.
I see how it is. Okay.
Getting a little heated up, so I'm gonna transfer to the next team. We got the Antonio Brown former squad, the Central Michigan Chippewas. It's a really cool name. They went 9-4 last season, 6-2 in conference play. They did win in their bowl game. Actually, they won 24-21 against Washington State in the Sun Bowl last season. However, they have not won the conference since 2009 when they beat the Ohio Bobcats 20-10. Jim McElwain is going into his third season. He's 20-13 so far with the Chippewas. Starting at quarterback is going to be Daniel Richardson, the redshirt sophomore, who last season went 191 for 316, 2,633 yards, 24 TDs, and only 6 interceptions. Daniel Richardson has a QB rating of 151.7 in his tenure with the Chippewas. Extremely powerful, extremely great for a college quarterback. Central Michigan had 18 commits this season with 14 3-stars. However, their offensive line did lose 2 major pieces in Burnham Raymond and Luke Gadecki, who were drafted by the Colts and Bucks respectively. And they also lost, I believe it was 6 players to transfer portals and one other to the draft and on their defense. And that's highlighted by star safety Devontae Reed and Troy Harrison, who went to the Houston Texans. For Central Michigan, one of their players to watch is Dallas Dixon. He's a wide receiver senior. He had 45 receptions, 701 yards, and 8 touchdowns last season. And then on the other side of the ball at linebacker, the sophomore Kyle Moretti, who's a 230-pound linebacking tank, who made 48 tackles last season, and he's going to be one of the big pieces to fill the holes for the Chippewas. One other person I did want to note is a key transfer from the Maryland Terps last season is wide receiver Carlos Carreri. He's a senior. He had 5 touchdown passes for the Terps last season. Finally, their biggest game for me is Week 5 at Toledo. Their first 4 games, they play Ball State, Akron, and Bowling Green. Their first 3 games, they'll play them. That's their first 3 conference games. If you can beat Toledo, which is a powerhouse in this conference, you can easily start your season at 5-0. And that would be huge for Central Michigan. Personally, I believe Central Michigan is going to go 8-5 this season. And I believe they're going to come second in the MAC West and miss the conference championship game, unfortunately.
No.
They need AB to come back. I hear he's available.
Yeah, he is. Not the Chippewas, though. Come on. They're too good.
They had a great season, but I'll tell you why in a minute. I'll tell you why they're not going to make it in a minute. Chris, tell me about the Eagles.
Oh, the Eastern Michigan Eagles. Former Juwan Hamilton school after he left JMU. Last year they went 7-5, They lost to Liberty in a crushing bowl in the Lending Tree Bowl, crushingly 56-20. Obviously, Liberty is a lot better team, considering Malik Willis was on that squad. And sadly, their last real conference championship was in 1987. They did, however, win their division 2 years. I think it was 2019 or 2016, one of the two. But their last real conference championship was in 1987. So a long drought for them to being on the top of the MAC. But their head coach, who's in their 8th season, Chris Creatine, not related to Cody Creatine, has a record of 37-57. So obviously a hard losing record, even though they've had some great success in the past year or two. For me, it's kind of an oddball, but their biggest game when I looked at their schedule was going to be at ASU. You're looking at this Pac-12 school of ASU. ASU, I wouldn't say is the best team in the Pac-12. I think we can all agree. So it's interesting to see how well they can play against a dominant Power 5 team and see, if they are the legit team of possibly winning the division this year or not a legit team and looking to finish in the middle of the pack like they have previously. When I was looking at their, 2 biggest players, I saw one of them stood out to me in the wide receiver of Hassan Bayoden. He had over 1,000 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns last year. So obviously some pretty good numbers last year, and hopefully he can drastically improve those numbers because your year before your last year, you're already hitting 1,000 receiving yards. Obviously, your next year you want a big year, and so I'm really hoping to see what he can do. And then on the defensive side, DB Russell Vaden last year had 4 tackles and 3 INTs. So again, you had some great numbers last year. I'm sure all offseason you've worked and developed, and I'm hoping to see great numbers out of him this coming year. And to ask if they're going to win the conference championship, it's kind of a toss-up. Obviously, you have Northern Illinois, Central Michigan, and Toledo that are, I would say better teams. But to win, again, that game at ASU is very important. And then your conference play is something that they should really worry about. I mean, you went 4-4 in conference play. So, obviously, I think that's where they're most improvement and what they need to focus on. I mean, you always want to beat your conference opponent. And especially the MAC East, it's not a great conference. So, I mean, if they just worry about their conference and what they can do, I can see them winning division, but I just don't think it's their year again. They're going to keep that last conference championship in 1987.
Jeez, that's way back.
Back in them old days, man.
Back in them old days. I have a bone to pick with whoever's assigning teams because Braden gets all of the cool mascots.
Wait, isn't that yourself?
We gotta talk to that guy. Braden, tell me about the MAC East champions, the Kent State Golden Flashes.
Yeah. As you just said, they won the MAC East last year. They did show us some of those golden flashes in the regular season, going 7-5, 6-2 in conference play. After the regular season, though, they lost the famous Idaho Potato Bowl versus Wyoming. They lost 38-52, and they lost the conference championship game against Northern Illinois, 23-41. So there were those golden flashes during the regular season, but after that, they couldn't get it done past the postseason. Their head coach, Sean Lewis, is in his 5th year. He's gone 19-24 with them. Last year was his best season. This team is led by its offense. We got junior quarterback Colin Schleep. Last year, he didn't get too much playing time. He played in 8 games. He went 17 for 24 for 238 yards and a touchdown. So he's a bit of a wild card. We don't know too much from him going into the starting job. But this team has some weapons. They got Dante Cephas, who's a wide receiver, and he's a junior. He won first team All-MAC last year with 82 catches, 1,200 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So very good season for him. And then running back Marquez Cooper, he's a junior. Last year he had 241 carries, 1,205 yards, and 11 touchdowns. So this offense has some firepower for Colin Schleep to play with. Their biggest game is Week 5 against Ohio. It's a conference opponent, and they're coming off a rough stretch versus Washington Week 1 and Oklahoma Week 2 and Georgia in Week 4. So they will definitely need to get back on track after probably losing 3 of their 4 first games. So if they can beat Ohio, they can get back on track and maybe get back to that winning record. I have them going 7-5 this season, just repeating what they did last year because they got a tough schedule, but I think they're a good team. They're going to get some wins. They're going to win the East Division.
They're going to win the East Division. The East Division is trash.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is. It's very bad. They won their division at 7-7.
They had
What,
6-2.
I'm aware.
The second place team had what? 4 wins? 5
Something
wins?
like that. Well, you can look at the ticker when it comes back around. All right.
Look, yeah,
Just
Miami.
like everybody else is waiting for it.
Miami, Ohio got it second at 7-6, and then third place got 3-9.
All right, let's pause. Let's wait for the ticker.
I'm looking at it
Hold
now.
on, we're waiting.
I gotta let this thing go around so I can see these.
Hold on. I'm gonna record it.
I would.
Miami, Ohio.
Miami, Ohio. Ohio's at 3-9.
And I'm just about to talk about Miami, Ohio.
All right, then do it.
Okay, here we go. All right, you can see it on your screen there. Last year, the Red Hawks went 7-6, earning second in the MAC East. They ended their season on a rather high note, winning the Frisco Football Classic Bowl against North Texas, 27-14. Their head coach, Chuck Martin, he's a rather seasoned veteran for the team. It's his 9th season. Coach Martin started off with pretty measly records of 2-10 and 3-9. But Miami stuck with him, and it certainly paid off. Since then, the Red Hawks have only had a losing season once over the last 7 seasons. And now here's where we get into the good stuff, guys. You better pay attention here.
Oh, I'm
Their
paying
quarterback, Brett Gabbert. And if you're wondering the same thing I was, yes.
Yes.
Much younger brother to longtime NFL backup, Blaine Gabbert. Star. Brett has had much success at the college level. He's had 2,678 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions last year.
Wow.
It is yet to be seen if we will see another Gabbert in the NFL, but I'm certainly hoping for it. And hopefully he can climb the charts up to the NFL one day.
What year is he?
He is a junior. He's a junior.
So he's got that senior transfer opportunity still.
Yep.
Okay.
I have 2 players to watch. Matthew Salapec. He's a linebacker, a sophomore. And in his freshman season, he had 112 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and 6 passes deflected. And my other one is Mac Hippenhammer. A great name, Hippenhammer. He's had 53 catches, 863 yards, and 5 touchdowns in 2 seasons. And he will be the leading receiver for the Red Hawks this upcoming year. I personally believe Miami, Ohio will have a much similar year to last year. A lot of their key pieces are coming back, but they did not do very well in the transfer portal, only adding 4 3-stars. But nonetheless, I think that Brett Gabbert can lead the team to a 7-6 record, especially if they win their first MAC game against Buffalo. Yeah.
I believe that. Another Gabbert.
Dude, I want another Gabbert in the NFL. There's not enough Gabberts.
There's not enough Gabberts.
Not by far.
I haven't heard about Blaine in a while either. Is he still in the NFL?
Probably not. Let's check.
He was for a long time.
He's on the Buccaneers.
Let's go.
I think he just won a ring actually with Tom Brady 2 years ago.
See? He's awesome. He's winning rings.
Now that we're talking about champions, so let's talk about the champions. The champions. Should I say it one more time?
The champions
of the MAC. The Northern Illinois Huskies at 9-5, a 6-2 conference record. They did lose their bowl game. They lost 47-41 to Coastal Carolina in the Tail Greeter Cure Bowl. In 2021, they did win the why am I saying Mountain West? The MAC. They beat Kent State 41-23. See how poor the MAC East is. Thomas Hammock is entering his 4th season as their head coach at 14-18. Here's my challenge. My quarterback's name has a better name than Dino.
No.
This guy's name, and he's the 2nd-year starter for Northern Illinois, is Rocky Lombardi.
No, you take that back. Dino's better.
Rocky
That's pretty tough.
Rocky Lombardi.
That's pretty tough.
I quit.
Dude, I looked at this man's name and I instantly went, oh, no wonder they won the whole thing last year.
Hey,
Rocky Lombardi is entering his senior season. He threw for 2,600 yards and 15 touchdowns last season. This season he's going to throw for 4,000. No, I'm just kidding. Northern Illinois had 20 commits. 16 of them were 3-stars. They finished 4th in the entire FBS in rushing yards per game. They ran for 241 yards per game. However, their leading rusher, Jay Ducker, did transfer to Memphis. He was responsible for 1,200 yards on the ground. Rocky Lombardi was a former transfer from Michigan State. He is in his second season here with Northern Illinois. And currently in the MAC championship world, Northern Illinois is tied with the Marshall that have transferred out of this conference at 5 championships. So they are currently tied. 2 players to watch really quick is Harrison Whaley. He's a running back. He's a sophomore. He had 574 yards and 4 TDs last season. And then the sophomore safety, C.J. Brown, who had over 100 tackles, a sack, a pick, which he's 6th. Their game to watch for me is Week 9 at home against Central Michigan. It's going to be a huge game in the MAC West. It's going to decide who's going to win the division. I believe Northern Illinois goes 9-4 and wins this division, crowning themselves as the MAC champs.
No.
Behind their Super Bowl QB, Rocky Lombardi.
I'm just saying, wait till we talk about Oklahoma. There's somebody there who's a better name than Dino and Rocky.
Oklahoma?
Yeah. Something to look forward to.
Hey, listeners out there, make sure you're watching.
That's the future of the SEC, but for now we're talking Big 12 with them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I got for the NIH. Chris, you want to follow that up?
With the epitome of, yeah, it got worse. It got really worse real quick. The other Ohio, this one, not Miami, the Ohio Bobcats. So, are they the same as Miami, Ohio? Absolutely not. They finished 3-9 behind Miami, Ohio, though. So, 3rd place,
They were right there.
Really working out. And again, that's why they're my game of the year because, you had 2nd place versus 3rd place. And even though this is the epitome of a division, we'll see how it goes. If maybe they get a little better. They last won the MAC in 1968 under Bill Hess.
Oh my gosh.
They were co-champions of the East in 2016. So whatever's going on over there is not smooth sailing. They are not doing well. Their coach, Tim Albin, it's his first season, and obviously he went 3-9. So again, I don't know what they're doing. I can't tell you what they're doing. Just they're there. For me, it was kind of hard to figure out, players to watch because they are really bad. So I guess for me, one of them is QB Curtis Roker. He threw for about 1,800 yards last season and had an abysmal 11-7 touchdown interception ratio. So not good, but I mean, maybe it's just, because he didn't start the entire season last year, and 11 touchdowns, regardless of your interception rate, is not great. But there's a little bright spot on the team with senior linebacker Bryce Houston, who had 46 solo tackles last year. So there's light at the end of the tunnel for them, I guess you can say. But the outlook for this year is not looking great for them. I have them going 2-10. I have them being one of the worst teams in the East. And you can probably bet money that they will not make a bowl. They will not win the conference championship. And they will, again, be worse. And within 2 years, look for another head coach.
Ouch.
Ohio, man. You got one good team. That's about it.
Everything is going poor in Ohio.
And Ohio State sucks.
Shut up.
Hey, there's only 5 teams that can win a national championship every year, and Ohio is one of them. Ohio State.
Go Buckeyes.
I want to see Ohio versus Ohio State.
No, you don't.
I know. We'll crown the Ohio championship.
No, you don't. I promise. Let's see what the score was the last time these team played. Give me 1 second. No, you don't. It was. I can't find is the last time they played was 20. They've only ever played 3 times. It was 2010. Ohio State won 43-7.
Hey, they got a touchdown.
Good effort.
They showed up.
We're done talking about the Bobcat. Why Brandon gets all the cool teams?
Toledo.
Go ahead, Braden.
The Toledo Rockets. 7-6 last season, 5-3 in conference play. They were third in West. They made a bowl game. They played in the Bahamas Bowl versus Middle Tennessee. They did lose that game 24-31. Last time they won the MAC West was in 2017. And they also won the conference that year, beating Akron in the conference championship game, 45-28. They're led by head coach Jason Campbell. It's his 8th year. He's gone 45-27, so very solid tenure for him. Their sophomore quarterback is Daquan Finn. He threw for 2,067 yards last year, 18 touchdowns, and only 2 picks. So a pretty solid year for him. I got 2 players to watch for you. We got Des Johnson. He's a linebacker. He's a senior. He had 70 tackles, 12.5 of them for loss, 4.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. And then I have cornerback Quinyan Mitchell. He is a sophomore. Last year, not too impressive with 34 tackles, 2 of them for loss, so he likes to get in the backfield as a corner. He has 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and 1 recovery. All of those last 3 were on 1 play. Strip sack last year against Notre Dame. They did lose that game, but it was a huge highlight play. It shifted momentum, and it made the game close against a big opponent. My most important game for them is week 2 against UMass. It's not a good team, not a good team they're playing, but it's a must-win at home before traveling to Ohio State and San Diego, and then playing Central Michigan back to back to back. So that's going to be a very tough stretch for them. But the schedule after that is super easy, and I'm projecting them to go 9-3.
Woo!
So I think they got a shot at the MAC West.
Not with Rocky Lombardi, but I respect your take.
Okay.
Jeez. That's a tough stretch.
It is.
Wow. It's a tough stretch.
But after that, they're golden. They're golden. It's easy.
They're not the Flashes. They're not golden.
Right, sorry.
It's okay.
They're the Rockets.
We'll work on it.
They're flying through the conference.
We'll work on it. Brent, bring us home in the MAC.
Finally, the last MAC team and the third Michigan team we've talked about. Central, Eastern, and Western. There's too many. But anyway, last year the Broncos went 8-5, but somehow got last in the MAC West with a 4-4 record over their divisional opponents. They still ended up making a bowl game. They destroyed Nevada in the Quick Lane Bowl, 52-24.
Whoa. Nevada. Don't talk bad about my Nevada team.
Too bad.
They suck.
I just have to. I'll hype them up in a little bit. Don't you worry.
The Broncos will be making a transition at quarterback this season. They've decided to hand the reins to 3-star redshirt freshman Jack Salapec.
I don't know if you did that statement on purpose, but that was smooth as butter. You said hand the reins.
Yeah. Handing the reins.
Go ahead.
And then I have a couple players to watch here. Sean Tyler. He's a 5'8", 185-pound junior running back who is ultra quick. Last season, he rushed for 1,150 yards and 9 touchdowns and has averaged 6.3 yards per carry in his 3 seasons with the Broncos. He is also electric in the return game, as he averaged 30 yards per return last season. And my second one is Ladarius Jefferson. And if you thought Ladarius Jefferson played a different position than Sean Tyler, you're dead wrong. Western Michigan has one of the best dual-threat rushing attacks in all of FBS. Last season, Ladarius Jefferson, now a senior on the Broncos, added to Sean Tyler's stats with 836 yards and 10 touchdowns of his own. He is a bruising 6'1" and 235 pounds. So a little like smash and dash action there. You got one huge guy and one small, quick guy.
I like it. I like it a lot.
But anyways, I have Western Michigan having a slightly worse record than last year at 6-6. Their quarterback is very unproven, and I think the talent, specifically in the MAC West, is way too strong to keep up.
Very nice.
So,
8-5, 4-4, dead last in your division. That's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Then you have the freaking Ohio Bobcats at 3-9 at third.
Third.
place, baby.
They need
Sounds like
to switch it up.
We need a division switch. It's like the Big Ten. Those divisions are flip flop too. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in 2 weeks, I think. All right, let's get this part over with.
I'm a little hateful. Don't be jealous.
Hey, I hype you up every week. I had to give the consumers something different today.
Well, you want me to? Then I guess I'm going to share my sad fact. I had 2 of them, but I guess I'm going to share my sad one now. Thanks, Joe. Well, 'tis the season, Tis the season for sports and getting ready for, football action. And so I did a little bit of math here. An average college team orders about 150 new footballs every year, and they go through about 130 of them, surprisingly. Well, a cow can make about 20 footballs. So a single team kills about 7.5 to 8 cows every single year just to make their footballs. And so when you think about the amount of, teams in the country.
You are lying. That is a sad fact. Oh my goodness.
It's not too bad.
It's a little Sally down the road that you're getting your dairy cow from, yeah.
Hey,
Oh, wow.
But if you think about it, you get the leather for the football and you get a little meat. You get some steak, feed the team.
Exactly. So really, it's getting a dual usage. You're giving the team the meat that they need, and also the the leather. So it's like it balances out.
Getting their protein.
Yeah. So
I'm just thinking about the cows I always see at Fox Ridge now.
I'm just saying, some teams order upwards of 200. So
The Crimson Tide are killing our animal.
Ban football. Ban football.
Ban football.
But not for any of the concussion reasons, not CTE.
no, he's not real.
All right, let's go to our 4th conference of the year, boys. Thanks for that delightful fact, Chris.
No, thank you, Joe.
Thank you. You're welcome. Conference number 4, Mountain West. We're talking about the Mountain West, baby. What was that reaction?
The Mountain West Conference. What a conference.
Well, first of all,
it's almost as bad as the MAC.
Braden, do your thank you. We're talking about the Air Force Falcons. Going here first. They were 10-3 last season, 6-2 in conference play. Last year's bowl result, they won 31-28 over Louisville in the Serve Pro First Responders Bowl. Yeah, Serve Pro. There's a little Carrabba's PTSD for you. Last time they won the division was in 2015. They didn't win it. They lost to San Diego State 24-27, and that's the only time. Well, at least the only time in the 10 and 20 decades that they've been in that championship. Head coach going into his 16th year is Troy Calhoun. He's 112-75. Now let's talk a little bit about the Falcons and their gameplay. First of all, they had 46 new commits this season. 46, the most commits in the Mountain West. Only 8 of them are 3 stars or above. On the contrary, all 3 of the Falcons' losses came by 6 points or fewer in 2021, and all had opportunities for game-winning drives and did not complete them. So this team could have been 13-0. Their rushing offense is what defines the Air Force Falcons. They had 834 carries for 4,260 yards with 44 touchdowns, and on average ran for 328 yards per game.
Damn.
That's an average of 5.1 yards per carry. So basically, they were getting a first down every 2 downs. So their offense was electric. Now, Boise State has been a monster in the Mountain West for decades of football. So I'm going to flip really quickly here to my most important game for Air Force. It's week 7 at home against Boise State. You got to take care of Boise State. If you beat Boise State, you can and will win the Mountain West Mountain. It's possible you can do it if you take care of Boise State. At quarterback is going to be Hazik Daniels. He's a junior. Obviously, didn't throw the ball a lot. He had 52 completions on 104 attempts last season with 1,184 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, and 3 picks. So they don't throw the ball a lot. But returning junior fullback, Brad Roberts, he is the Tim Riggins of football. He ran for 1,357 yards and 13 touchdowns as a fullback.
That's crazy.
As a fullback. This kid is crazy good. I watched this highlight reel. Go check it out. It's amazing. Second player to watch is the star sophomore Trey Taylor at safety. He had 62 tackles, a sack, a forced fumble, a pick, and 5 pass deflections last season. Crazy. And then one last fact for the Air Force Falcons. They held their opponents last season to only 27 points in the first quarter.
Out of all their games?
Out of all of their games, including the bowl game.
Good defense.
27 points. Extremely effective. I believe that Air Force, again this season, goes 10-3, picks up right where they left off. Good squad this season. I'm excited.
You don't usually see fullbacks racking up that amount of
Dude,
yards.
This guy is crazy. He hits gaps like he's Nathan Wagner at Sharando. Just like ridiculous. Chris, talk to me about the Mountain West Domination League.
Well, your other favorite team in the league, the Boise State Broncos, the Blue Field Wonders.
Oh, it's so cool.
Boise State last year went 7-5. They did make a bowl game, but it was canceled due to COVID issues. But they did make the Barstow Bowl, maybe the most legendary bowl coming up this year. Their head coach, it was his first year, Andy Albose. He went obviously 7-5, and their last conference championship was in 2019. So I mean, they're a fairly good squad, and that's why it plays into their biggest opponent, which is going to be against, of course, like Joe said, Air Force. I think that's also Boise State. If they beat Air Force, they could possibly win the division. So that game, I think, is really crucial for them, and so I'm interested to see how that plays out. When I was looking at players that this team needs to lead, obviously the biggest spot on the team, I would say, is the quarterback. And so looking at senior quarterback Hank Beckmeyer, he threw for over 3,000 yards last year and had a 20-8 touchdown interception ratio. So good numbers out of this Boise State quarterback, and I only look for him to get better as he matures into the starting spot again. And my other player to watch is Tyrique Lebloof, a senior cornerback. He had 8 solo tackles and 3 interceptions last year. So again, kind of interested to see what he can do. I think Boise State, if they beat Air Force, they have a chance to go, I would say 9-3. If they lose to Boise State, I see them as a 7-5 team again, making a bowl, obviously. But again, to win the division, they need to beat that Air Force team, which is right kind of with them on same level, I think. And I can see them having it this year. So I think 9-3 is a respectable number for them, and they will make a bowl.
I agree. I agree. In my opinion, I believe there are 3 teams at most that people know in this division. Boise State is one of them. San Diego State's another one. And then honestly, Wyoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can always make a case for Air Force just because it's Air Force.
Correct. But when you think Air Force, you would really not believe that they are
a powerhouse in this league or in this division.
I agree.
Because when you look at the skills of like Army, or Navy, they're kind of, and the American, they're just kind of, there. They win some games, they lose some games. Obviously, the Army Navy game is the biggest game of the year, but I mean, Air Force is a good team.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
We had some bots in the chat there for a little bit. Sorry, guys.
I blocked them all. I didn't even. Yeah, it's unfortunate that people still do that. It's very childish.
Yeah.
But anyways, thanks, Chris, for talking about Boise State. It's on my bucket list to get to their field one day. It's really cool. So, Braden doesn't get to talk about a cool team.
Hey, they are cool.
Yeah, they also just lost their quarterback too, so they're going to be even worse.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The Colorado State Rams, they have an interesting story coming into the year, though. They were 3-9 last year, 2-6 in conference play. Did not make a bowl. They obviously didn't win the Mountain Division, and they never have. They've never won the Mountain Division. But they're looking up. They got some stuff going on. They got Jay Norvell. It's his first year at Colorado State. He is 33-26 in his career, and he's transferring in from Nevada, coming off an 8-4 season. Their quarterback is also transferring from Nevada following Jay. He's a redshirt freshman. We got nothing on him, but he's going to be the starter. We're very excited to see him play in college level for the first time. And then we have Troy Horton is a wide receiver. He's a junior. He also transferred from Nevada. 659 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 52 catches last season with Nevada. Somebody that they're retaining from last year is Cameron Carter. He's a senior linebacker. Last year he had 100 tackles, 8.5 for loss, 6 sacks, and a pick. So, that being said, they got a lot going on. They got a lot of transfers from Nevada. And that being said, most important game for them is Week 8 at Nevada. Coach Norvell, Clay Millen, Troy Horton, and company, they have a lot of other transfers from Nevada as well. We'll be facing off against their former team in the conference battle. I predict them to go 5-7, taking a step up, but still not getting over the hump quite yet.
Okay, respectable. They're a basketball school. They're a basketball school.
Yeah, for sure.
They're a basketball school. Brent, go ahead and tell me about the lesser Bulldogs.
No. The Fresno State Bulldogs are awesome. And as you can see on the screen there, they went 10-3 last year, just falling short of the Mountain West Championship game. They did have a bowl game. They played against UTEP and beat them 31-24 in the New Mexico Bowl. Their coach, Jeff Tedford, went 26-14 in 3 seasons with Fresno State before resigning for health concerns in 2020. At the end of last year, however, Tedford was rehired in hopes of Fresno State returning to the top of the Mountain West. Their quarterback is former Washington Super recruit transferred to Fresno State after not getting a lot of playing time. It is Hainer. Hold on, let me get that first name for you. Give me 1 second. There it is. Jake Hainer. He's awesome. Through 6 games in 2020, he went for over 2,000 yards and 14 touchdowns. And after that, it's only been smooth sailing from there. Hainer closed out 2021 with 4,100 yards, 36 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions. So he should have no problem making the NFL. I think he ranks in the top 15 in college recruits going into the NFL at the quarterback position. And then a couple other players to watch. Jalen Cropper. He's had 137 catches, 1,615 receiving yards, 16 receiving touchdowns, 43 carries, 446 rushing yards, and 5 rushing touchdowns in 3 seasons. And like Hainer, he should also have no problem making the NFL as he ranks 13th at the wide receiver position in all of FBS. And then next we got Evan Williams. He's a safety and he's a senior. He's had 157 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 4 interceptions, 8 pass breakups, and 3 forced fumbles in 3 years. So as you guys could see from those guys alone, Fresno State is an all-around great football team, and it wouldn't surprise me if they find themselves in the top 25 to end the season. They had 16 3-star recruits and 7 3-star transfers over the offseason. And in my opinion, again, a top 15 quarterback and top 15 wide receiver and I think they will go 10-2 and win the Mountain West this year.
Bold take, Cotton.
I think they will. They're awesome.
Well, you gave some analysis to back it up, so I don't know how to argue with you. Besides this, the real team that's winning the Mountain West, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, baby. Let's go. They went 6-7 last season, 3-5 in conference play. They did make a bowl. However, the Hawaii Bowl was not played due to COVID-19 issues as well, just like Boise State's bowl was canceled, unfortunately. They have not won the Mountain West before, but they did make it in 2019. They lost to Boise State 31-10. That's the only appearance the Rainbow Warriors have had. They're bringing in a new head coach this season. His name's Timmy Chang. He's going to be having his first season with the Rainbow Warriors. They had 13 commits. 7 of them were 3 stars, which was the worst recruiting class in the Mountain West. They did add offensive coordinator Ian Shoemaker, so do expect the passing game numbers to increase just a little bit. And here's where this gets fun, guys. We have a 3-way quarterback battle going into training camp. We have Braden Shager. He's a sophomore. He threw for 615 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions last season with the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Then we got a little more. We have 2 transfers that came in. Cameron Cooper with Washington State. He was 4 for 7 with 44 yards and 1 interception. And then we had Joey Yellen, the Pittsburgh transfer, who in 2020 went 35 for 78, 402 yards, a touchdown, and 3 picks. So we really don't have a great slew of quarterbacks here for the Rainbow Warriors. Not a lot to get excited about. Here is what you can get excited about. Player to watch number 1, Zion Bowens. He's a wide receiver. He's a senior. Last season with the Rainbow Warriors, he had 12 receptions for 257 yards and a touchdown. So on average, yards per catch, he's averaging 21.4 yards. That's something to look for, kind of like big play Trey. Now we got a really cool name for our second guy, who's a defensive lineman at 305 pounds and 6'2", who's a senior. His name is Blessman Tiala. He has 30 tackles and 1 sack last season, and hopefully he can bless this team with a couple of wins. My game to watch for Hawaii, it's got to be Week 11 at home. It's against UNLV. It's their final home game of the season. And honestly, I believe this game will decide if Hawaii is going to go bowling or not. Now, Hawaii has a bit of an advantage on teams. Hawaii plays 13 games every season. So all they have to be bowl eligible, you have to win 6 games. So they have one more opportunity than a mass majority of FBS teams. Here's the kicker. Last season, the Rainbow Warriors had the worst defense in the Mountain West. They gave up 446 yards per game and 32 points against per game. They had issues. Despite all of this, the Rainbow Warriors seem to know how to get it done in the gritty offense, and they seem to be able to just get things done. I believe the Rainbow Warriors go 6-8. They'll win their 6 games with a very easy schedule this season, as Hawaii usually does, and they'll lose in a bowl game if they get to play it.
Good analysis.
If they get to play it. Chris, you seem to be getting really hyper, so I'm going to let you talk about them. I know you've been waiting. You're on mute.
You know, the Wolfpack?
We're having
I wanted to say it twice. I wanted to hear myself say, maybe the greatest team in the conference, the Wolfpack. They went 8-4 last year. They had a pretty good season. They did sadly lose by 30 points in the Quicken Lanes Bowl, so they had their struggles, I guess, towards the end of the season. Their last divisional win was in 2010, but it wasn't in the conference we're talking about. It was the WAC. So obviously they're having issues winning divisional championships, but they have a new head coach, Ken Wilson, and I think he could turn this team around to eventually making it to the Mountain West Conference Finals and maybe even winning it. For me, their biggest game is versus Boise State. I talked about Boise State, and I saw how dominant of a team they were. And with Boise State, with them playing Boise State, I think it takes them to are we winning a conference championship or not? So I really want to see, how that plays out. For players to watch, one is senior running back Toatas. He ran for 732 yards and 6 touchdowns last season. So as a running back, some pretty solid numbers. I'm looking at him hopefully to get over 800 rushing yards this season alone. So kind of interested to see. And another player a position we don't really like to talk about, the kicker spot, Brandon Tolton. He was 73.3% on field goals. He was 100% on his extra points. He had a 52 ranges as long as field goal, and he has scored 118 points last season. So a good, pretty good player in scoring points. So I'm interested to see what he can do this year again. Hopefully get up that field goal percentage up to closer to 90, which would be pretty interesting to see. And so for Nevada, I have them hopefully going 8-4 or 9-3. I'm kind of teetering back and forth. I've been looking at their kind of stats line, but I think that's good enough to hopefully place them in, the top of their division, and maybe even let's see them go into the conference championship and see if they can win anything.
Good stuff. Nevada Wolfpack, let's go.
Kickers deserve love too.
I love kickers.
Are we saying it may be the better Wolfpack,
Then NC State? Yes. 100%. Wait, we already talked about a New Mexico. Why are we talking about them again?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. When I was looking at it yesterday, I was like, wait a minute. I forgot New Mexico existed. We got the Lobos here. And for good reason that I forgot they existed. They went 3-9, 1-7 in conference play. Did not make a bowl. The last time they won the MAC, was in 2016 with a bit of an asterisk. They were co-champions, losing a tiebreaker to Wyoming. Their head coach, Danny Gonzalez, is in his 3rd year. 5-14 is his record with Nevada or New Mexico, so not the greatest. At the quarterback position, we have a two-way battle between returning New Mexico Isaiah Chavez, who's a redshirt sophomore. He spent the last 2 seasons in a backup role, and in his time there, he has gone 36 for 52, picking up 412 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 pick. He's had some success in the rushing attack as well. Then we have Miles Kendrick, a senior. He transferred in from Kansas. The highest workload he's seen was in the 2020 season, where he went a little bit interesting here. He went 73 for 120 for 647 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 5 picks. And he's also been known to rush a little bit. I got 2 more players to watch. We got Tavian Combs. He is a junior safety. Last year he had 69 tackles and a pick. And then I have junior linebacker Ray Lutele with 32 tackles, 6 for loss, 3 sacks, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 touchdown. The biggest game for me is week 2 against Boise State. It's their first conference matchup of the year, and it's a really tough one to kick the season off. The tough schedule for the Lobos does not bode them well for an improving season, so I have them going 3-9 yet again.
What is a Lobo?
That's a good question.
Isn't it a wolf?
Let's take a look.
Isn't a Lobo a wolf?
I thought
I
that.
believe so. It is a wolf.
Oh,
So, I thought it was a wolf.
I was thinking hobos at first. Rhymes with hobo.
They're the actual best wolves.
Okay, I'll take it.
All right, Brent, before you do this next team, Braden, when you hear the name, log off your computer. When you'll know it when you hear it, just log off. Brent, just go like you would. Just go like you would.
All righty, boys. San Diego State. Last year, the Aztecs went 7-1 in the conference, but lost in the Mountain West Championship to Utah State. In their bowl game, they beat UTSA, UTSA, in the Frisco Bowl, 38-24. Now moving on here, a player that Braden and Joe know pretty well. I know him pretty well too. I think he was there when I was there for a little bit. Braxton Burmeister.
Oh, God.
The former Hokie had decent success at VT, going for 2,647 yards, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 714 rushing yards in 2 seasons. He will now jump ship and take his talents to the Aztecs. It's nice seeing
Brent, between me and you, we don't like Tech, right?
I can't say the same.
No, it's okay.
I like Tech.
We don't like UVA. How about that? What?
I like JMU too.
No UVA.
What were we saying?
Don't worry about it. Brent, how do you think they're going to do this year?
All right, moving on. Some players to watch real quick. Caden McDonald, 116 tackles, 10.5 sacks, and 22 tackles for loss over 3 seasons. And Jonah Tovai, 97 tackles, 9.5 sacks, and 30.5 tackles for loss in 4 seasons. San Diego State is still a solid football team, but they did lose some key pieces in Cameron Thomas, Daniel Bellinger, and Matt Ariza, the kicker god. No, the punter god. The punter god, sorry. I misspoke there. He was a punter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. They also didn't do much to replace them, as they only had 3 3-star transfers this offseason. I have them going 9-3, losing a few more games than they did last year.
Yeah, when you have inconsistent quarterback play, it's kind of hard to win a division. I didn't know Braxton only threw 4 picks last year.
Yeah, he did.
That seems way less than actual.
He just didn't do enough to, like, in the yardage and touchdown department to make up for it. That's why
he also threw an interception during Richmond. So I mean,
yeah,
true.
That's why it didn't seem like much. I mean, because it wasn't. It wasn't.
Did you put Braxton's injury report on there?
I did not. He does run a lot though, so it makes sense that
Braxton was injured and taken out of one play in at least 9 of our 12 games. At least.
I mean, when you run the ball a lot, it makes sense.
Yeah. So we saw way too much of our backup quarterback,
who is not a quarterback anymore.
Who is now a tight end.
It seems to happen a lot with quarterbacks transferring to tight ends for us. Think about Logan Thomas.
Logan Thomas is a beast, though. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's talk about something a little more positive. The San Jose State Spartans, 5-7, 3-5 in conference play last season. They obviously did not make a bowl game, which is interesting because the year before last, in 2020, San Jose State actually won the Mountain West with a 34-20 win over none other than Boise State. So they kind of fell off the face of the earth. They had a bit of a Super Bowl slump. Brent Brennan's entering their 6th season as their head coach. They're 20-37. So let's get a little more in depth about San Jose State. They had 21 commits. 16 of them were 3-star recruits. They did a phenomenal job in the transfer portal. They busted their butts and bolstered their O-line. They got left tackle James McNorton from Washington State. Well, I feel like I've said Washington State like 6 times today. And they also got center Bryce Peterson from Akron. They also brought in a new starting quarterback and a new wide receiver that I'm going to talk about in a minute. They did return 9 of their 11 starters on defense. However, they turned the ball over multiple times in 9 of their 12 games. So at least 2 turnovers in 9 of their 12 games, and 3 times they turned the ball over 3 times in 4 games. So extremely poor ball security. Here's where we get into some players. Excuse me, I'm going to butcher the heck out of this name. I think it's Chavan Cordaro. He's a redshirt junior. He's the transfer from Hawaii. He had 195 for 353 last season with 2,793 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 11 picks. He also has some legs. He went for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns. My first player to watch for this team is a wide receiver graduate student, the transfer from actually the Nevada Wolfpack. His name's Elijah Cooks. He had 13 receptions for 157 yards and 4 touchdowns last season. He's extremely fast. He's extremely effective when he gets the ball. On the other end, at defensive end, a senior, bringing back first team All Mountain West Conference play and an honorable mention for the All-American team, Vilami Feoko. He had 37 tackles with 7 sacks and 3 forced fumbles last season. Incredible job from the team. Now here is my game of the year. Week 12 at home. Last game of the season for the Spartans. Guess who it's against?
Boise State.
No, I wish. It's against Cordaro's old former squad, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. I believe that both teams are going to come into this game with a lot of implications for it being the last week and the last game of the season. The winner of this game is going to decide who goes bowling. So
Nice.
look out for it on your schedule. Currently, I have San Jose going 6-7. An extra win this season. They're going to go 6-6 and then lose their bowl game. So look out for those Spartans, and they're ready to rock and roll. Probably the best Spartans in college football.
Probably.
They have an accent mark. How many other teams have an accent mark?
They're better than the Robert E. Ayler middle school Spartans.
Nobody's better than that team. Come on, man. Come on. They got a new stadium.
They did. And a new school. Because the other school had cancer asbestos in it.
It did. It definitely did. If we all die when we're 40, we know why.
Yep.
We know why for sure. All right, let's go to the UNLV Rebels.
My last team, the last team you're going to hear from me, the UNLV Rebels. Unlike the city of Las Vegas, they do like to bet, but they seem to lose much more than they do win. Last season, they had an abysmal year, going 2-10. Obviously, did not go to a bowl, did not win a conference championship. Actually, the last time they won a conference championship was 1994 in a league that doesn't even have football anymore, the Big West Conference, which is now only in California.
Chris, why are all of your teams winning in the 1900s?
Man, I don't know, but this team has not been good. Their head coach, Marcus Oyoya, has a 2-16 record, so obviously the last coach didn't get it done, and this coach is surely not getting it done. So we're looking at probably a coaching change in the next few years. My biggest game for them is Utah State. You know, a good team in that division. So let's see how they do against a good team. I expect a loss from them, but I'm really interested to see. I think it's going to be the make or break game for their coach. So I'm kind of interested to see how they play that game. They do have, some bright side. Obviously, a lot of the good players of UNLV have transferred after last season's abysmal year. And so one of the players is junior wide receiver Kyle Williams. He only had 601 yards last year and 2 touchdowns. But after their number one guy transferred out, I'm interested to see what he can do, now in a more starting role, now in a more prominent role as wide receiver 1. And another one is some guy that has seemingly stuck it out through the whole thing, senior linebacker Austin Ajaik. He had 43 solo tackles last year and 31 assisted tackles last year. So he's kind of their bright spot on their defense, and so I'm interested to see what he can do and what this team can do in probably another abysmal year. They have cool jerseys, but their team is just trash.
Sounds like it.
There are just some teams that we talk about in this series that just need to be left misunderstood and unrecognized. This is one of those teams.
That is very true.
Let's talk about the complete flip side opposite.
Exactly. We're moving on to conference champion Utah State Aggies, going 11-3, 6-2 in conference play. They made the LA Bowl. They won 24-13 versus Oregon State. Obviously, the last year they won the division was last year, and they won that conference championship game against those Aggies in San Diego, 46-13. Dominance in this conference last year. Their head coach is coming on his second year. Blake Anderson obviously had a phenomenal first year. You can't want much more than being conference champions after your first year, so he's feeling pretty good about himself. And their quarterback, Logan Bonner, is feeling pretty good about himself as well. He's a senior. Last year he threw for 3,600 yards, 36 touchdowns, 12 picks, and he did that on 61.3% completion percentage. Their all-star left tackle, Alfred Edwards, is a senior, and he's my first player to watch. He was honorable mention All-Mountain West last year. And then my next player to watch is Byron Bonds. He's a senior defensive end who's looking to get a little bit more work this year than he did last year. And last year on limited work, he got 44 tackles, which is all right. But 11 of those were for loss. So 1 in every 4 tackles for him was behind the line of scrimmage. And then he has 4.5 sacks. So 1 in every 10 tackles for him was a sack. And then he has 1 forced fumble as well. My biggest game for me, is week 7 against Air Force. It's a really tough conference opponent, and it should be one of their toughest they see all season. There's a lot of losable games on the schedule. So you gotta win your conference games. I have them going 8-4, not quite taking the conference this year, but they're still gonna be a very, very solid team.
All right. You
Fresno State on the rise.
No. All right. Let's wrap up with Brent's second Josh Allen led team.
Yeah, Wyoming, the last team we'll talk about today. In 2021, the Cowboys went 7-6, but only 2-6 in the conference, as you guys can see on the screen there. They did make a bowl game. They blew out Kent State 52-38 in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. At quarterback, Wyoming doesn't really have anything that's a sure thing. So they will go to Andrew Peasley, a redshirt junior who had 415 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions last year. 2 players to watch: Easton Gibbs, sophomore linebacker. He had 131 tackles, 2 sacks, 9.5 tackles for loss, and 4 broken up passes in 2 seasons. And Cole Godbout, which I think is another cool name. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but that's how it looks to me. He's a defensive tackle. He's a senior. And last year, he led the team in sacks and tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 7 TFLs. Their most important game for this upcoming season is Week 12 at Colorado State in what they call the Border War. Wyoming needs to win this game to have any sort of bragging rights this season because they are not going to be good at all in comparison to the rest of the Mountain West. And as I said, gone are the days of Josh Allen for Wyoming. They haven't been close to a Mountain West championship since the Stallion was leading the way back in 2016. They're going to continue their lackluster seasons and go 4-8 this upcoming year.
Brent, you're killing me with the sentences today, dude.
It's bad to be a Wyoming fan.
That was nice. That was a good way to end that one.
Thank you.
Chris, you wanna say your goodbyes real quick? I know it's time to go back to the workforce.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, everyone. I had a great time. My longest one yet. But at the end of the day, college football takes too much time of my life. It's an honor to come on for at least an hour to talk a little bit about, get away from the work day a little bit. But, it's the grind of the season. And towards the end of it, I guess it all pays out. Probably not for us this year, but obviously the grind never stops with me, right?
Well, Chris, make sure you're getting a lot of pointers because we expect a lot of information from you because we're talking the Sun Belt next week.
And trust me, I'm very excited to talk about the Sun Belt. I'm hoping that I get able to leave work to join the draft that's happening next week, as well as football. That is hopefully the crazy man upstairs doesn't try to schedule practice on a Sunday, which is not unheard of. But
yeah, you quit your job if it's on draft day. That's all I'm saying.
But like I said, big week next week, draft day, as well as talking a little Sun Belt football. A little talking about all the new teams that are entering the Sun Belt, and probably talking about the best G5 team in the entire FBS football landscape. So I'm pretty excited.
I'm excited too. Well, Chris, we'll see you later. We got one more segment before we hop off here. Let's do it.
It was a pleasure.
Bye, Chris. Love you.
All right, now welcome to the Sports Outlet Show, ladies. Just like we did last week. Oh, jeez.
Dream team.
Hey, routine. Same routine. Getting in a routine. Speaking of something that's not routine, we have a new segment today that Brent gave last week, and now I came up with one this week. If you hung around last week, welcome to Joe's Controversial Top 10 Fantasy Football Edition.
Let's go.
I'm going to be very controversial and tell you the top 10 players that should go in your fantasy draft in order. There is no stricken from this list. I will stand by this and I will die by this list.
Okay.
I don't care how ridiculous. It's really not that ridiculous, actually. But let's get it going. Braden, we're still waiting on yours, waiting for the creative juices to flow.
Okay.
But at number 10, I actually am going to read some stats for you guys to guess this player first. At number 10, this player had 77 receptions for 1,405 yards and 6 touchdowns. He had 353.96 fantasy points in 2021 and 8 rushing touchdowns. Who am I?
Deebo Samuel.
At number 10, you should draft Deebo Samuel, wide receiver, San Francisco. Just got a massive contract. Trey Lance is now at QB1. There's going to be a lot more running options. There's going to be a lot more jet sweeps and a lot more checkdowns that Deebo can get a 5-yard checkdown and run to the freaking house. That's number 10. At number 9, this man had 81 receptions for 1,455 yards and 13 touchdowns. He had 323.6 fantasy points in 2021. Who am I?
Jamar Chase.
At number 9, Jamar Chase. You guys are doing great. Wide receiver, Cincinnati. The reason he's this low is because receivers struggle in year 2. For the most part, receivers have a sophomore slump. Joe Burrow is getting a bolstered offensive line. Expect more Joe Mixon of running the ball this season. Expect T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd to get more involved in this offense, as Jamar Chase is obviously wide receiver 1. And number 8, this player had 937 yards, 10 touchdowns, rushing, 18 receptions, 154 yards. Who am I?
Derrick Henry.
In 8 games last season, Derrick Henry, the running back of Tennessee. Here is why he is low for me. I'm extremely worried about that foot. I'm extremely worried he could get re-injured, and the Titans overuse him every freaking season. And now there's no A.J. Brown. This squad is going to overuse Derrick Henry. That could bolster or destroy your fantasy lineups.
I'm worried about the age. I feel like when you get to your he's not in his 30s yet, but he's late 20s. When you get to that age, running backs usually start to decline. So I feel like it's only a matter of time, but we'll see.
At number 7, with 1,200 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns, this person also had 74 receptions, 467 yards, and 3 touchdowns in 2021.
Is it Najee?
Najee Harris, running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, above of Derrick Henry in your fantasy football drafts this year. As we saw, hold on, I got to block another user. This is ridiculous today. I don't know what's happening. We must be on a spam site somewhere. Apologies there. Najee Harris, as you saw, the first depth chart came out for the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday. At 1 was Mitch Trubisky, at 2 was Mason Rudolph, and at 3 was Kenny Pickett. First of all, that is stupid.
No, I like it.
I
think Kenny Pickett should be 2. But
I agree. That's what I hated. All right, we're on the same page there.
I like Trubisky at 1.
Najee Harris at 7. Go ahead, Brandon.
I was going to say, I've heard that Mitch has not been playing well either, so quarterback situation is not great.
Just wait.
At number 7, Najee Harris is going to have an explosive season. There is no doubt in my mind he's going to outperform Derrick Henry, outperform Dalvin Cook. Period. Done.
Is Dalvin Cook not in your top 10? Damn.
I'm not letting you guess the next player. At number 6, this player should go 6th overall in your draft. Josh Allen should go number 6.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Listen up. Last season, Josh Allen had 4,407 yards, 36 touchdowns, 6 rushing touchdowns, and over 700 rushing yards. He had 405 points at quarterback. Josh Allen is the greatest quarterback of fantasy football eras. Josh Allen should go in the first round of your fantasy football drafts, period. I love this man. Listen, and here's why. I understand the depth of running back. I understand the depth of wide receiver. I understand that. However, this man's putting up 400 freaking points for you. It's not going to matter at the end of the day if you draft Dalvin Cook, who's getting you 20 points a game, when you can just go around and pick up David Montgomery in the third round, who's going to be the same factor.
No.
If you get a quarterback in Josh Allen, you are bolstered for life for 30 points a game.
I disagree on that one. I can't see myself taking a quarterback in the first round ever again, no matter how good they are, just because I'm missing out on a generational running back, a generational wide receiver. And at the end of the day, you need depth at both of those positions. And I'm much more comfortable taking a quarterback late.
What, Britton?
You only need one quarterback. You need 2-3 running backs.
Yeah.
2-3
I'm
wide
aware.
receivers.
Honestly, you would be fine. Like most teams, if they have a good draft, they don't even need a quarterback in their draft. They could go without a quarterback and just stream every week and they'd be completely fine.
Right? That's pretty much what you did last year for the playoffs. You were streaming the entire playoffs.
That's my take on it.
Malfunctioning. Okay. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, you were frozen for a second, but I got you now.
They're working on my internet here today.
You're good.
At number 5, you're not going to guess the who am I because it's literally it was a record-breaking season. It's Cooper Kupp. At number 5 is Cooper Kupp, wide receiver for the Rams. Here's why. Here's why he's not higher. Cooper Kupp had a freaking crazy season. If he repeats that, then by God Almighty, you got to steal. If he gets anywhere, if he gets between 1,700 yards and above, that's still crazy. Cooper Kupp had a generational year talent. Wide receivers have a ton of tape on him. And I do believe that Allen Robinson is going to have 1,000+ yards this season. Cooper Kupp was the man. There was no Robert Woods. OBJ was barely relevant in that offense for a majority of the time. That is why he's at 5 for me.
I'm pretty sure the last number 1 wide receiver to repeat was Antonio Brown. So it's been a while. And obviously, like you said, Cooper Kupp, I think he had the best wide receiver season in fantasy of all time, except for maybe Jerry Rice back in the day. So incredible season. There's no way he repeats it.
At number 4, this player I took a chance on in 2019 and 2018 in the 6th. This man is a bolster of a running back. He's lightning. He's a Charger. Austin Eckler at 4, by far the highest he has ever been in a fantasy football draft.
Yeah.
Austin Eckler at 4 is a no-brainer, needs no context at all. In my opinion, I would draft him top 3.
I was literally looking at the draft board where he drafted in the 6th yesterday. I was looking at it.
I won the championship that year.
Mm-hmm.
I always get worried about Austin Eckler, and I don't know why. Like, I just can't.
I love him.
It's just in my head that, like, he was an undrafted free agent, and that's why I don't want to keep picking him. But he proves me wrong every season, so you might as well.
20 TDs and 1,500 all-purpose yards makes people talk.
Yeah. He's
all right,
good.
I'm ready to piss some people off. At number 3, I have Jonathan Taylor. I don't know why there's 2. Hold on. I don't know why there's 2 periods there. And I can't tell you why. Number 3, I have Jonathan Taylor, running back, Indianapolis Colts. New quarterback in town in Matt Ryan. Wide receiver, Michael Pittman, going to get his 1,000, 1,200 yards easily. Matt Ryan doesn't have a great record of success with running backs. The only enigma in that is Devonta Freeman.
Yeah.
Because Todd Gurley failed under the Matt Ryan system as well. That had a lot to do with his knee.
Yeah.
No running back has ever gone back-to-back seasons at number 1 for fantasy football.
Todd Gurley, I think.
He got injured.
I thought he did it one year.
No running back has ever done it. Jonathan Taylor will not be an exception. He's explosive. He's phenomenal. He's going to continue to be one of the best. But again, he's going to be overused, and I'm very afraid that he could get an injury. So just watch out in your fantasy drafts. Do you guys want number 1 or number 2?
Well, 1 second here. Also, like, Nyheim Hines is a great running back too. Like, I love how fast he's a great pass catcher, way better pass catcher than Jonathan Taylor. So he's going to get some work too. In my opinion, I could see someone picking Jonathan Taylor at 2. So he's at the 1 or 2 spot for me.
Yeah.
But I can see your analysis there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys want my 1 or number 2?
Let's go number
Just give
2.
us 2. Yeah, give us 2.
Number 2? And number
Yes.
2, if my player at 1 is taken, I am taking this player at number 2. Justin Jefferson, wide receiver. Why is there 2 periods? I don't know what's going on here today, guys.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's been a wacky podcast. Justin Jefferson at 2. Justin Jefferson this season is going to break the all-time record for receiving yards in a season. Period. He's going to have 15-plus touchdowns, and he's going to go berserk. Justin Jefferson has been having elite, crazy seasons, and it literally feels like last year he underperformed. Let me read you his last year's numbers. 11 yards, and that is Jonathan Taylor. 16 yards, over 100 receptions, and 10 touchdowns with 351 fantasy points. That's ridiculous.
He's great. My favorite receiver for sure.
You're talking about adding only 300 more yards. I know I say only, but Justin Jefferson is one of my favorites in the draft. And if you can pick him in the top 3. I think it's very obvious who number 1 is.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey is at number 1. And here's the biggest risk of them all. Christian McCaffrey has had back-to-back seasons without completing. Last season, he played in 7 games. In those 7 games, let's talk about the first 3. The first 2, he put up TDs, and he put up 30-point performances. And here's why I have him over Jonathan Taylor. In 7 games from Christian McCaffrey, he caught 37 receptions for 343 yards and a touchdown. In 17 games for Jonathan Taylor, he had 40 receptions, that's 3 more, 360 yards, that's 17 yards more, and 1 touchdown more. Christian McCaffrey, when healthy, when playing football, with a new quarterback in Baker Mayfield in the system, who is going to have to go to Old Reliable in the check down, is the number 1 pick in the draft and is the best player in fantasy football.
Yeah, you said it. Like if he is fully healthy for an entire season, it's game over. I mean, whoever drafts him wins the draft basically. But the thing is that durability issue. You said we've said Jonathan Taylor was the best player in fantasy last year. If Derrick Henry and CMC finish the season, he's 3rd. So, I could see why someone would take CMC at 1. I just can't do it because I've been burned too many times. And
at the number 1 overall pick, when you come back, it is pick 24. You need a running back that can put up 40 points.
Yeah.
Because when you come back around, the next best you're getting is like a David Montgomery or J.K. Dobbins.
Right. That was me last year. Then that's entirely why I picked him, even though he was injured the year before. If he plays the full year, it's game over.
It's so crazy to me that he could potentially be drafted number 1 overall 3 years in a row when he hasn't played the last 2 years. That's just how good he is when he's healthy.
I agree.
It's ridiculous.
It would be the first time ever we've had back-to-back number 1 picks, actually, in our league, because Saquon Barkley went first in 2020. So, all right, that's my top 10. Who did I leave off, and why can I tell you I left them off?
Yeah,
I
we talked
personally
about Dalvin Cook.
Yeah,
I about Dalvin Cook. Okay. So Dalvin Cook does have a bit of an injury bug.
Mhm.
Honestly, every running back does that isn't named Jonathan Taylor, and every running back that wasn't named Derrick Henry last season. I'm afraid of Dalvin Cook this season because of how much Justin Jefferson. And you do have Alexander Madison, who is going to be getting touches. And honestly, the Minnesota Vikings are one of the biggest teams that are rarely on offense. They mostly play defense because they score very quickly.
Yeah, they do.
So that's my take on Dalvin Cook. If you get him at 11 or 12, I personally believe that's still a steal, but he's not in my top 10.
Another one. Well, a couple more for me. I don't know if these two are in the top 10, but they're definitely first round for 12 team. Is Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs for me.
Okay. Devontae Adams.
And I personally like both of them over Debo. I'll say that.
Devontae Adams, I hate new system wide receivers. I always have. It's always a down year compared to years past. Honestly, I don't know of an exception because Julio Jones, when he went to Tennessee, trash.
That's what scares me about Devontae.
That's what scares me. He's still going to have great numbers. He's one of the best receivers in the game.
Yeah.
Derek Carr is throwing to him. However, for the first time in his career, Devontae Adams is going to be challenged with receptions from Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller.
Yeah.
Including Josh Jacobs as a check down.
Yeah.
So that's what scares me about him. In my opinion, I would not draft him in the first 12. And that's crazy because I was high on Devontae Adams last year.
I mean, yeah, you have to be.
For Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen is too much of a dual threat. He runs the ball a lot. Stephon Diggs is still going to get his 1,300 yards. He's still going to get 10-plus touchdowns. But I really do believe, and I'm not just saying this, that Gabriel Davis is going to have an explosive season. I personally do believe that. I do believe Dawson Knox is a touchdown vulture. That's what he does best. And I do believe that running back program is going to start figuring it out this season with Zach Moss at one of the starting three.
I personally love wide receivers that come off, and obviously there was a lot this offseason. I love wide receivers that come off a huge contract because it shows that they want them involved, like very involved in the offense. And that for me, Stephon Diggs was one of the first ones to get extended this offseason. So I love Stephon Diggs personally.
Anybody else? I tried to make the first one not super controversial because I knew Chris wasn't going to be on for it.
I think the only thing that was actually really controversial was Josh Allen at 6.
No.
Yeah, I can't do it. I know there will probably be someone that'll take Josh Allen in the first round, but that it won't be me. I'll say that.
I really thought putting Najee Harris over Derrick Henry and Jamar Chase was going to light some fires.
No, that's not bad.
Well, Jamar Chase is going 4th overall.
I'm not huge on Jamar Chase. I think he's getting a little too overpumped right now. T. Higgins is there, and I love T. Higgins. So.
But this might be the first year of fantasy football that we see 6 and 6 for running backs and wide receivers.
Yeah, and I agree with it because there's a ton of elite wide receivers. I mean, you saw the offseason. How many wide receivers freaking got paid this offseason? It was crazy.
A lot.
Oh, it's crazy.
A lot.
Last one was Deontay Johnson. It's been a huge trend.
Scary Terry, DK Metcalf, they all got paid.
There's been
Stephon Diggs,
Mike Williams.
Yeah.
I saw somebody that in a fantasy football draft they got Christian McCaffrey at 2. After that, turned around, got Travis Kelce, and then turned around and got Josh Allen. And I went, holy crap. Could you imagine looking at that team?
Possibly the 3 best at their position.
Correct.
Probably the 3 best.
I was looking there and I was like, if I do that on Sunday, I don't care what the rest of my team is. There's 100 points every week.
Yeah, that's another thing I wanted to say is should Travis Kelce be in the first round? Because he has been in the most recent years, but this year it seems like he's not going in the first.
He's going like early to mid second.
Yeah.
I respect that.
He did have a down year, but we'll see.
But yeah, that's my first controversial top 10, guys. Thanks for hanging out. I knew the Josh Allen one was going to be funny. I stand and by that. And if he don't tell David this, because David is going to pick him. Like, I know David is picking him in the second round period. Like, I believe that as a matter of fact. If it comes back around to me at 2 and 3, I'm very much going to consider it. So
He is the first overall, right? Or no?
David?
What is he? Is he third pick?
David's like 10th.
Oh, okay. I was confusing with Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan's 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ethan's.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor's going off the board.
Yeah.
If it's CMC, I'm actually going to be in a really big predicament on Sunday because I'm not going to know.
We got to share this with Ethan real quick.
No, please don't. I'm just kidding. We'll see.
All right.
Boys, anything else to say before we head out?
That's it from me.
Awesome. All right. Well, happy Sunday to everybody out there. We apologize for the comment thing that was going on. I was extremely annoyed by that, but it happens. It just means that we had more viewers.
Yeah. Bots.
More bot viewers. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Next week, be sure you're checking out Twitter. Be sure you're checking YouTube as well. The time is going to be different. It's not going to be at 1 o'clock on Sunday because that's when our draft happens. Extremely pumped, extremely excited. I'll be home in a week for you boys. And this is my last podcast from Atlanta, Georgia. Next week, we're talking Sun Belt and American conferences. So get pumped, get on the books for that one.
Live stream the draft.
No,
I'm joking.
that's too long. Everybody have a great rest of their Sunday. Joe Wagner, Brent Ledborough, Braden Wilkins, Chris Naylor is already logged off. We are logging off here from the Sports Outlet Show. We appreciate all y'all. Hit that like button, subscribe. You know, I'm going to be that YouTuber guy for once. I've never said that. But appreciate y'all coming out. And, hey, college football is close, and we got more preseason action next week. So let's get after it. Y'all have a great rest of your week. We're out of here from the Sports Outlet Show. Bye-bye.